Welcome to another episode of The Legends. Today we visit Thika town where we go and visit Reverend Peter Kinyanjui. Reverend Peter Kinyanjui has done extensive work as a minister who has served in various parts of Kenya, also served in Tanzania at some point, and also served as the Deputy Secretary General of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. He is now a retired minister, and Reverend Peter Kinyanjui continues to be actively involved in the work of the parish where he is attached and the presbytery. So we want to gain from his wisdom and experience and get to learn what are the things that he has experienced towards retirement and in his life in retirement. So welcome to this other episode. God bless.
Coming up on Legends.
I urge everybody, even the ministers and even the people I preach to, that remember that you will not work forever. And even when you retire, you will still be a father or a mother, and you still need to do your work, to do things that you are doing when you are employed.
Yes. So we welcome Reverend Peter Kinyanjui to this program. Now, you are a retired minister, but you're such an example of a retired minister who is still active, and you're actively engaged in the work of the presbytery at Gateway PCA and also in other programs of the PCA. What would be your advice to ministers who are active today in terms of preparing for retirement?
When I went to the head office, one of my concerns was what will happen to the ministers when they retire. First, I found that the money, the salaries the ministers were getting and the pension they were having, which was being kept for them, was so low. And so I worked on a system where I made sure that the minister contributes about 10% and the church contributes about 15%, so that 25% equivalent to the minister's salary is kept in the pension scheme which they get after they retire. But even as that is happening, I would urge them, the first thing a minister should do to prepare for retirement is have a place to live in. You must have a house. When you retire, you will not retire, get the retirement benefits and start building. And the second thing that maybe they would do is buying a car would be a second thing. To make sure that your children are in a situation, they are in a situation where they can be able to learn well and sit with them, prepare them so that when you retire, they will not be saying, our father did this or the other, or our mother. I urge everybody, even the ministers and even the people I preach to, that remember that you will not work forever. And even when you retire, you will still be a father or a mother, and you still need to do your work, to do things that you are doing when you are employed.
Yes.
So, as you say, as the pension is kept for you, make sure you have a way of saving something every month, so that by the end of the time, you will be able to continue serving your home, your family, and serving the church as well.
Okay, you mentioned something about the education of children, and you are a former Deputy Secretary General and a person who was in charge, by virtue of being the DSG, in charge of personnel and the posting of ministers. And I know the whole idea of the posting of ministers sometimes, because of the constant transfers, it affects the children. Do you think there is something that needs to be done or changed so that the transfer of the ministers for the welfare of the church is not going to affect the family of the minister or the education of the children?
I was of the opinion that we should go to the right of call.
Yes.
I know the right of call has its own advantages and disadvantages, because sometimes when you are called, you may be forced by the elders and so forth to do what they want. But I still feel that transferring ministers every 5 years affects a number of families. I would encourage, even if they are not going to the right of call, maybe we would come from the 5-year rule and they say not a minister should stay in a parish for about 8 to 10 years, so that during that period of 8 to 10 years, he will be preparing or he will be educating his children. Many ministers' children get affected, and especially when they are young, when a minister is being transferred from one parish to another.
Yes.
I would also encourage that even as we do the transfers, now that the presbyteries are very many and they are near to each other, a minister can be posted to a parish where the children will not be affected very much, so that they can be able to be going to school and doing their work. I mean, the minister will be doing his work where he is. But I would discourage this idea of transferring ministers just anytime. Care should be taken, so that you are not just posted. When you are posting someone, make sure you know how he is, what he does. Does the wife do any work? And the work that the wife does, is it transferable? Would he be able to go with the husband, or you will bring a lot of problems? Let me mention one thing I have seen already, that ministers who have the spouses as ministers, I don't think it is right for a husband to be in this presbytery and the wife is about 10 presbyteries away from the husband. If it is possible, let them come to the same presbytery, and if they are not, if it is not possible, let the wife and the husband be in the near presbyteries, so that they can decide where to live, either in the wife's house or in the husband's home, so that this idea of children not feeling very nice because they have been transferred. And I can give an example of my children. When I was in Dar es Salaam, we had our last born, and then he started school in Dar es Salaam, and then we were posted to Rungiri, and within 15 months he was again transferred to another place, and within another 6 months we were told to go for further studies in America. So the child was not feeling very well, because he's here, he's there, and within a very short time. Care should be taken that at least a child should be left to finish the primary education, and then secondary, and then if he goes to the university, that's a different thing. But as for the lower classes, the child should be taken care of by the appointment committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
In just one word, and we will come to the discussion after the break, I want you to tell me, we have some professions that are quite strenuous, like the judges and the professors in the universities, and their retirement age is over 70. Do you think the retirement age of ministers should be raised beyond 65?
I was contemplating on that issue, and I think the ministers should be allowed to work beyond 70 years now.
Do you have to go for a break?
Yeah.
But you address that issue. Now you give the reasons after that. I wanted to hear from you. What do you think? And you said the retirement age should be raised. You discuss that further when after the break. And now we'll also address the issue of the working relationship between a retired minister and an active minister. So we will get to also Josephine Mutuota, the Minister of Gateway, who has been working hand in hand, and as a clerk of Nairobi North Presbytery, where Reverend Kinyanjui is actively engaged in ministry, and get to know how they go about it. Thank you so much.
My name is Josephine Mutuota. I am born again, Christ is Lord. Reverend Kinyanjui retired from this parish. His last parish to serve was here, Nairobi North Presbytery Gateway. And yes, we relate so well with him. He's very supportive. And one thing I can assure you is that whenever you call upon him to do something in the parish or even other places, like even when the parish has an issue outside this jurisdiction, he's always willing to come. And again, as a parish minister, I have always involved him in the preaching program. Anytime I have maybe a midweek service or such kind of a thing, whenever you call upon him, he's always very much willing to come. Retired ministers within their jurisdiction, I would advise that it is important to involve them in parochial work, even if it is not so much, at least to allow them serve, because retirement does not mean that you cannot offer anything substantial to the Church of Jesus Christ. So the fears, because I know there are some who are so afraid and they imagine like the retired would take over the parish or the work. That is false fear. We should let them serve, because again, I know I will also soon be retiring. It may not be tomorrow, but I'll also be on that other side. So as I would want to be treated, that's what I would want to do to those who are retired.
So before the break, we were addressing the issue of raising the retirement age of ministers, and you mentioned that you had several reasons why you think it should be raised. Go ahead.
First, the ministers are retiring. As they retire this time, they are already very strong. Unlike before. I think because the salaries are good,
yes,
they eat well, and the parishes are not so big again like they were that time. So by the time they come to the retirement age, they are very, very strong, and I think that would be the best time. From 65, someone is very strong.
Yes.
I should think they should be given up to 70 or 70 plus years, so that they can be able to help the church continue with the work. For example, I find myself, I retired 10 years ago.
Yes.
And the church is still using me to do a lot of work and a lot of traveling. And I'm still retired. So if I can go to all those places, it means I'm still strong and I can be productive in the ministry if given a chance.
Yes.
And those people who retire, I would encourage that the church looks at the whole issue of retirement and maybe bring it in the next General Assembly. So that the age of retirement can be increased.
You have mentioned something to do with your engagement in the ministry, though you are retired, mostly outside there. But now there is your working relationship and your active work within the Nairobi North Presbyterian, especially PCA Gateway, where you are attached to.
Yeah.
Can you, because we would want to know more about, an example of a good working relationship between a retired minister and an active minister. Can you address that?
I don't see the reason why there would be collision between the minister, the parish minister, and the retired minister.
Yes.
Because I have worked with Mwirichia, Reverend Mwirichia.
Yes.
I have also worked with Josephine, and I can say that we have never had any collision, because one of the things I don't do is interfere with the running of the ministry by the minister who is there.
Yes.
Many ministers are unable to work with the ministers, or even to become second minister, because of thinking maybe you are better than the minister who is there.
Yes.
But I would discourage any person thinking that because this is a younger minister, then I am better than her or him.
How about a word to the other side? You have talked to the retired ministers, how they should respect and support the active ministers. Is there something you would want to advise the active ministers in terms of engaging the retired ministers?
We have a tradition of respecting the old being respected by the young, and the young being respected by the old. If you fight the retired minister, you may lose a place where you may go to ask for help when you need it.
Oh, yes.
Because this person has all the experience. He faced a number of challenges and problems during his ministry. So when you help him, when you stay with him and sit with him, asking him questions and whatever, you find yourself becoming more knowledgeable than when you sit alone there and you look at the retired ministers as if they are not anything. They are something. Remember that they have brought the church up to where it is, and then they handed it over to you. So respect between elderly and the young ministers is very, very vital.
So now, as a retired minister, and you've talked about continuing to be active and to be used in the ministry in various areas, you're basically, from what I hear, you're basically busy over the weekends because you're engaged on Sundays and maybe Saturday traveling and all. How do you spend the rest of your days in retirement?
I like becoming a friend to the books.
Okay.
I'm a director of Jitagemea Credit Scheme.
Yes.
I involve myself with a lot of things there. I'm also a director of another company. And I also have time with my family. When you create that rapport, it is very, very important.
Now that you're reflecting on your life in active ministry and looking back at the things that God enabled you to accomplish in many areas, in mission areas and even abroad, if you were to tell us, what is that, maybe with that one thing that you feel, given a chance, if I were to go back, there is this one thing I would want to accomplish, or I feel that I ought to have done this, either as a deputy secretary general, as moderator of various presbyteries, or in your active ministry. The one thing that you feel that you could have done and you never did.
When I was leaving the head office, there was one thing I wanted to do. I thought that the offices that were coming up after me were to do it, I was working on a system where the church would maintain itself, the head office would maintain itself without relying on the parishes.
Yes.
So that the parishes are given a chance to utilize the money they raise by just paying the minister and doing other activities that would make the church be felt by the community. If the parish is only catering for the minister and maybe the evangelist, if the parish was just catering just for those 3 people and not taking money elsewhere, that money which they save would be utilized by helping the less privileged people in that community.
You have talked about that issue that you, given a chance, you feel that you would have accomplished. And there is a debate that is coming up from amongst people nowadays that have had it right, left and center. Do you think we should increase the term limits of the officials of the General Assembly?
This issue which we created of 3 years, it does not augur very well because you would not do very much. If we would go back to where this church was before 1984, whereby the Secretary General would be re-elected for another 6 years, the moderator be given even more years. I don't see the danger of having the moderator becoming the moderator for 12 years, or even 10. I would encourage that because sometimes you are doing something, you are on the verge of doing something, and all of a sudden the years are over. You cannot be re-elected, you cannot do this or the other. So it becomes a problem because you had the idea, but then it is cut by the number of years. When we said moderator should go for 6 years, the secretary 6, and the deputy 4 years, we were in a crisis. We were trying to solve a crisis, but you don't solve a crisis when it is there. Study the crisis, come out with the ideas, so that by the time you say this is what we are saying, you are already there. So I don't see why we should not say as far as one is able to work. And as far as he is not retired, and I say about retirement, I'm saying let the retirement go up to 72 or so many years. As far as one is not retired, let them be given a chance to lead as many years as they can if they are able. What I would hate to see is someone being given more work, more years to serve, while he is not productive.
So thank you so much for all those wise ideas and for sharing the experiences that you have and the things that you dream for this church. And taking your time, opening your home for us so that we can come and learn from you and also share that experience with others. And taking your time. When I realize that you're also very busy, you're teaching and you're going back and forth, you take your time to do this. So thank you that you opened your home for us and gave us an interview, and may the Lord bless you. And we hope that we can be able to implement some of these things and the ideas that you have. Thank you so much, Reverend Kinyanjui.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Grant you many more years.
Next week on Legends.
Here we are in Nakuru at the home of a retired minister, Reverend Gladys Muchoki, the first and the only retired lady minister in the PCA at the moment.
Women were not, accepted in the ministry. So I kept waiting and waiting and waiting, but one day it happened.